In this video, let's talk about creating filled surfaces using only sketch inputs. So on the screen, we have two separate sketches. We have a 3D sketch that comprises of 3 of our edges. Then we have a 2D sketch that comprises of the start of our edges. So we're going to create a filled surface. We're simply going to select the 3D sketch and our 2D sketch and take a look at the resulting surface. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, with sketches, you don't have any control over the curvature. You can't tell it to do a normal to input or give it a direction vector. You simply have the edge and SOLIDWORKS creates a patch between them. If we wanted to instead control these edges, we'd have to use something like a boundary surface. A boundary surface would allow us to create those edges and control the curvature of the surface in between them. We have to use this selection manager since we're creating or selecting edges that are part of a 3D sketch. But you'll notice that the resulting surface looks the same with the one exception that we can actually control some of the geometry here. We can say normal to profile or give it a direction vector, give it a tangency influence, or give it a weight depending on what kinds of inputs we're using. So for this one, we have curvature and tangency to face options, but they're not valid because there's no surface or edge selection that we can base that on. So we have normal to profile or direction vector. So let's take a look at what we've created and let's take a look at the surface fill that we created and how they differ. So if we look at our boundary surface, let's go ahead and change its appearance, change its color. We'll make it something that's easy to view, easily visible. We can see that it's red here. Now, if we take a look at the gray surface, you can see that the only place that they really overlap is in this bottom corner where the curvature is the same. Let's take a look at a section view and take a look at the difference between these two. So as we rotate this around, you can really start to get a sense of the difference between the curvature in these surfaces. And these boundaries are fairly simple boundaries. So you can imagine if you had a more complicated boundary, that change could be very drastic. So it's my recommendation that if you're trying to use only sketch inputs for creating a surface, you're better off with using a loft or a boundary surface that allows you some control over how the surface is created. The filled surface really works best when you have some sort of edge selection to help drive the curvature.